Good morning. I'm Major Isaac Parker, Operations Commander with the Jeffersonville Police Department. Appreciate you guys coming today. The purpose of this conference is to provide a brief statement of facts of the homicidal actions of Richard Glass, which led to an officer-involved shooting. I want to be clear, Chief of Police Kenny Cavanaugh and the entire Jeffersonville Police Department administration supports the actions of our officers that night. Every individual in proximity of the AVIA North Shore apartments was in grave danger due to the actions of Mr. Glass. The counteractions taken by our officers potentially preserved the lives of many. We would like to thank the Clarksville Police Department, the Clark County EMA for the direct and unsolicited response to aid in navigating this perilous situation. In addition, we'd like to thank the Indiana State Police for also providing aid and their assistance in sending officers to conduct the investigation. Clark County Sheriff's Office for covering our calls for service on our streets as this unfolded. The Jeffersonville Fire Department and the New Chapel EMS for their professional response, all while putting themselves in danger. The Clark County Central Dispatch and the call takers for their ability to navigate the stress and efficiently take and relay information to our officers. This is imperative to our mission to providing a blanket of security to the public. Regularly, these individuals do not receive the credit they deserve, and we are grateful. On Tuesday, August 15th at approximately 7:13 p.m., the Jeffersonville Police Department responded to a call for service regarding a burglary at the AVIA North Shore's apartment located at 703 North Shore Drive, apartment A212. Officers made contact with Richard Glass, who advised an unknown person broke into his apartment and committed theft. While on scene, an officer observed numerous firearms in the residence and also reported suspicious circumstances surrounding the interaction. Additional investigative steps were taken, which revealed nothing, and a burglary report was filed. Again on August 15th at approximately 9:34 p.m., officers received a call for service from a resident of the A building in the AVIA North Shore apartments. It was reported the caller was approached by an unknown male who stated he was going back to prison. The caller observed the male enter apartment 212 and requested a welfare check. At approximately 9:41 p.m., Richard Glass called 911 and reported a neighbor was hacking his phone. Glass advised he had a firearm and requested the police because he did not want to use the firearm on the neighbor. Between 9:41 and 9:55 p.m., officers responded and attempted contact. They were only able to speak with Glass through the door, and he communicated that he did not believe officers on scene were the police. As the incident progressed, so did the aggression of Mr. Glass. In addition to this, EMS was staged in the area and a separate radio channel was obtained. At 10:04 p.m., Glass stated to dispatch that someone was going to get shot. He acknowledged the attempted contact in the hallway. At 10:13 p.m., a decision was made to pull away from the door in an attempt to de-escalate the situation and to potentially establish communication between Glass and the officers via telephone. At approximately 10:40 p.m., a 20-year veteran lieutenant was able to make contact with an estranged, out-of-town family member, as well as the law enforcement agency in the jurisdiction in which Glass used to live. It was learned that Mr. Glass was a combat veteran and suffered from a chemical dependency. At 10:57 p.m., Glass communicated with Central Dispatch in an extremely agitated state. Due to his state, dispatch was forced to replay the call and confirmed that Glass made reference to a white male with a rifle and to come and get it, we ready to kill people. He refused to answer questions from the call taker. At 11:10, a neighbor called and reported hearing 2 shots fired. At 11:14, officers moved to a position where they could see Mr. Glass through the window of his apartment, which placed him in an elevated level where he maintained a tactical advantage. Glass was armed and was pointing the firearm at his temple. At 11:17, fire and EMS were staged on scene. At 11:26, Glass was seen walking around his apartment with a long gun and a pistol. At 11:29, officers advised Mr. Glass was shooting out the window towards them. Chief Cavanaugh requested the regional SWAT team be notified and to put them on standby. The Jeffersonville Police SWAT team operators and members of the JPD Quick Response Team had already begun arriving on scene, and the crisis intervention team were contacted. As JPD SWAT operators arrived, they began to deploy. This included an observation and precision rifle team. Due to the elevated location of Mr. Glass inside of his apartment, they were unable to enter an adjacent apartment building. They were able to enter an adjacent apartment building through the rear window, which allowed access to the common area of that building. Contact was made with the tenant on the second floor of Building B. Cooperation and access to their residence was obtained. At 11:34 p.m., another round was fired from the window by Mr. Glass, with another at 11:37. At 11:44, Mr. Glass communicated that there was a man accidentally killed in the hallway, and this was later proven to be false. The call taker also observed a loud commotion in the background, and it sounded as though things were being broken. This call was disconnected at 11:45 p.m., and attempts to reestablish the communication were unsuccessful. At 11:51 p.m., 2 additional shots were heard coming from inside of the apartment. Over the course of the next several minutes, the SWAT team continued to deploy to aid the patrol officers. At 12:07, an officer with our observation and precision rifle team reported firing his weapon, which caused the suspect to vacate the window area. Officers were unaware if Mr. Glass still posed a threat. However, EMS and fire were moved into the parking lot of the apartment complex. Attempts to safely confirm whether Mr. Glass still posed a threat were deployed, however, were unsuccessful. Eventually, the door to Mr. Glass's apartment was breached, and a drone was sent in to determine if a threat still existed. It was then SWAT operators entered the apartment, and Mr. Glass was declared deceased by the medics. Throughout this entire incident, our officers attempted to evacuate individuals that were in direct danger. This included social media posts urging residents and anyone in the area to shelter in place. 3 members of the observation and precision rifle team were placed on unrestricted administrative leave per our policy and procedures. I cannot express the gratitude to the individuals that live in that apartment. Without one family even provided a case of water to us. Without their cooperation and our partnership, this might have ended differently. Their actions directly were related to the potential lives that were saved. Our thoughts and prayers are with Mr. Glass, the officers involved in our community. At this time, I will turn it over to Lieutenant Sam Moss. He can speak briefly on the internal investigation.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Lieutenant Samuel Moss, assigned as an internal investigator with the Jeffersonville Police Department. In compliance with our department policy, an internal investigation will be completed. The goal of this type of investigation is to thoroughly review all facts of the case and to ensure our officers' actions conform with our policy. Indiana State Police will conduct a criminal investigation with unremitting efforts to provide a fair and thorough report. As the internal investigator, I will be privy to review all of ISP's reports of evidence, interviews, and forensic examinations. I can then utilize these reports, coupled with my own impartial investigation, and objectively compare these findings with our department policies. The fact that an internal investigation will occur is standard practice in accordance with our department policy for any officer-involved shooting. An internal investigation in no way should imply any negative connotation or preconceived notion. The purpose of internal investigations is to preserve the integrity in our work and trust in our community in order to maintain the public's confidence in our abilities. We ask for patience in these investigations, as they do take time to complete thoroughly and accurately. Our internal investigation cannot be completed until the culmination of Indiana State Police's investigation. Thank you for your time this morning. I will now turn it back over to Major Parker.
Does anybody have any questions?
Can you talk about the fact that he was a combat veteran and how this was a tragic situation, but it could have been a lot worse, perhaps?
I think anytime that you have a situation remotely close to this, combat veteran or not, it's tragic. And regarding Mr. Glass specifically, this investigation is still ongoing. We haven't had Indiana State Police is conducting the criminal side. We're conducting the internal side, and it's in its infant stages still. So I wouldn't feel comfortable commenting on anything additional.
You mentioned how that your officers reached out to a family member just to learn more about why was that such an important factor in figuring this thing out?
Mr. Glass was not from here originally. We had limited information on him in the attempt to obtain intelligence through that, which potentially could have provided, maybe some sort of aid in navigating the situation.
Where was he from?
Not Jeffersonville, was from across the bridge.
From Kentucky?
Yes.
He mentioned going back to prison. Obviously, you can do a public record search and see that he had a pending case in the Clark Circuit Court. Did he talk about that case and his fear that that was going to be what sent him back to prison? Or?
Again, there's certain specifics that I can't comment on. There's certain that I don't know yet because it is so infant, and we're not conducting that main investigation.
Do we know if he was shot by a regional SWAT team member? I know that's what ISP had said. Are you guys able to provide clarity on that?
The regional SWAT team did not respond. They were not activated. It was the Jeffersonville Police Department SWAT team. They were called and placed on standby. I had heard that as well and saw that there was confusion. It was the Jeffersonville Police Department quick response team, the SWAT team, and the crisis intervention team.
There have been a lot of traumatic things over the past couple of months that you all have responded to. How are you all holding up?
We are a tight-knit agency. We're well trained, and it has been tough. Let's be honest. Policing tough is not just tough here in Jeffersonville. It's tough across the country. And as long as everyone sticks together and we do the right thing, we'll be okay.
And it sounds like Mr. Glass and neighbors, they had a lot of contact with our emergency dispatchers. Have you spoken with them to see how they're doing?
I have not personally. I can tell you that they were phenomenal. That's a good group of individuals up there that are the offensive linemen, if you will, of these situations. They're the unsung heroes, are the ones that don't get credit, and they're imperative. We have to have them. They're vital to what we do.
Just to be clear, that he was shot by an officer and did die by suicide?
Again, all I can do is report what we did. What I did, and that was that an officer reported that a single shot was fired, and that he vacated the window area. An autopsy will be performed, and again, that's all going to be part of the Indiana State Police investigation.
So it's unclear at this time if he shot himself at all?
I can say specifically that it was reported by a member of our observation and precision rifle team that a shot was fired and that he vacated the window, and I believe there was movement after that.
And Mr. Glass was shooting. Did you say he fired 2 shots prior to that individual from the, whatever you call it, the observation rifle team? When that law enforcement officer fired the shot, Mr. Glass was firing 2 shots. Is that what you said? Or what was
I can confirm that there were several shots fired throughout the incidents from Mr. Glass into the public area, towards officers, in an apartment complex where when I arrived on scene, there were people outside. I remember the first person I saw was what appeared to be maybe a grandmother and a toddler sitting on the sidewalk. As far as what specifically occurred at that moment, we're not conducting that part of the investigation. That's something that's still ongoing, and we'll have to get to it.
So he fired several shots, Mr. Glass did. Again, can you talk about how close were some of those shots to officers or civilians?
Again, it's an apartment complex, so there's a lot of people there. When you fire weapons in an apartment complex or anywhere in an urban area like a Jeffersonville, there's people there. And as far as how specifically close it was to an officer or something like that, again, that's going to come from the Indiana State Police investigation.
Is there body camera of this? I know that you said that you all were kind of in a different apartment area. Is there body camera video of what happened?
All body camera footage from officers on the scene was obtained. And that will be forwarded, of course, to the Indiana State Police. We're, of course, cooperating with everything that they need, so.
Will you all release it later on, do you think?
Yeah, there will be an additional press release that will be able to discuss tactics a little bit more and probably release body cam additional information.
Did you mention other weapons found inside his apartment?
I did not. Again, that part, the searches and the crime scene itself, that investigation is where Indiana State Police began. So we were not part of that. However, it was stated in the original call for service regarding the burglary report that numerous weapons were observed inside of the residence, and then on the second call, he was seen with at least two, a pistol and a long gun.
What kind of feedback have you had from people in that apartment complex?
You know,
after?
again, I can't speak volumes of how much how much they did and how their willingness to cooperate and to be partners with the police resulted in the outcome that it did. Where, you know, it's unfortunate. Of course, we hate the fact that it ended the way it did. In the sense of Mr. Glass losing his life, our prayers and thoughts are with his family. However, you know, no one else was injured. There was no one else injured.
When it comes to like a parent mental health crises, can you remind us the role that your intervention team plays in situations like this?
Sure. Our crisis intervention team is the old word for negotiators. We just receive you know, specific trainings. They're part of our SWAT team, and the QRT team is when, you know, generally they get knocked out. The crisis intervention team does as well. You know, the intent was for them to get in there and be able to establish that communication with him, and things unfolded the way it did.
Do you know, are there any like mental health professionals or consultations that your department works with?
This situation specifically, and I'd like to focus on this specific situation, it was very rapidly evolving. This wasn't something where, you know, there was days in between. You're talking, you know, between the initial call to the other one was a couple of hours, and then once we arrived on scene in the second, things transpired quickly. You know, this wasn't a long-term type thing. You know, we spoke to the family out of town. We were able to, you know, at one point try to back away to de-escalate, and that's how it ended. So.
When you say chemical dependency, is that a dependency on a certain drug? Is that what you're referring to?
I'm referring to a chemical dependency. You know, again, this is information I received.
Is there another way
putting
to
out.
put that?
You can't tell us what the drug was that he was addicted to?
Not at this time, no, I won't.
Can you tell us what gun he was using to discharge? You said that Mr. Glass fired a couple shots. Could you also tell us what gun that was?
That's something that would come from the Indiana State Police in their investigation.
And secondly, with this being a unique situation, you're in an apartment complex, there's multiple lives at stake, to put it bluntly. Does this make it a unique situation for your department? And, you know, is this something that you all deal with or train for? Does it make it harder that he was kind of tactical in the way that he was able to beat up the stairs? Or what kind of situation does that put your all's guys in? Is it like a, you know, are you all used to this kind of thing, or is it unique?
Specifically referring to the tactics that were employed. That's something that would come out in a later press conference as far as the tactics go. As we obtain more information, we'll be able to provide probably a little bit more back to the media. And I would say that will happen in the near future. So.
Is there a timeline for the body cam release?
Excuse me?
Is there a timeline for the body cam release?
When we're able to, when we're ready to.
I also heard from neighbors that he was throwing things out the window as well while he was shooting his firearm out the window. That's something that your officers saw as well, because throwing these out the window and also shooting as part of, I would say, this kind of a mental breakdown.
You know, his behavior was erratic the entire time. It's not specific to just throwing things, and it was erratic from almost that entire second instance. And again, the aggression increased rapidly. I did hear that there was something maybe thrown from the window. Again, that's not part of the investigation. We haven't obtained any information to confirm that yet. So.
And the team was de-escalating the situation. They're backing out the hallway. Is that something where they left the building completely and went outside, or just moved further down the hallway as they kind of waited
that specific location, again, is something that would come from the tactical side of that conference, so.
Sorry that I misunderstood this, but did you say that he filed a burglary report or that officers responded to a separate burglary report and went to his department?
No, he was the one that filed the original
He
burglary
filed
report.
the
Yes, and we responded there, and that's where the original contact was made, if I
You
wasn't
said
clear on that.
3 officers were put on leave
There were 3 total officers that were placed on administrative leave, yes.
from JVD?
Unrestricted, yes. Good. Thank you guys very much.